Eleanor Hayes had everything the world admired: fortune, influence, and a name that commanded respect in business circles, but what she valued most was her 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Every morning, before her chauffeured car carried her to the tall glass towers where decisions worth millions were made, she made it a ritual to walk Lily through the Central Park. It was their moment of simplicity, untouched by flashing cameras or stiff boardrooms. One crisp autumn morning, however, something broke the rhythm. Eleanor's sharp eyes landed on a boy sitting alone on a weathered bench. His clothes hung loosely, frayed at the edges, and his shoes looked as though they had walked far too many miles. Yet, what startled her wasn't his ragged appearance, but the sight of her daughter sitting beside him on the ground, her little dress brushing against the dirt. Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement as the boy, no older than 13, traced letters into the soil with a stick, guiding her small finger to copy them. "Sound it out first," he said softly, his tone patient and kind, "then try again." Lily giggled as she attempted the word, beaming with pride when she got it right. Eleanor froze a few steps away, torn between instinctive alarm and a strange pull to remain silent. She had paid tutors, enrolled Lily in elite programs, and yet none of them had reached her daughter the way this boy seemed to in mere minutes. His voice carried no authority, only warmth, and Lily was responding with an eagerness Eleanor hadn't seen before. The boy noticed her shadow at last and flinched, as if bracing for anger, but Eleanor remained rooted, her lips slightly parted in surprise. Something in the scene unsettled her, not in fear, but in the quiet realization that her daughter was receiving from a homeless stranger what all her wealth had failed to provide: genuine connection, patience, and understanding. For the first time in years, Eleanor did not stride past with indifference. She watched, almost breathless, as the boy and her daughter bent together over the dirt, and a single question echoed in her mind: who was he, and how had fate brought him into their morning walk? Eleanor's heels clicked sharply against the stone pathway as she approached, and the boy immediately jumped to his feet, dropping the stick as if he had been caught stealing. His eyes, wide, alert, yet lined with weariness far beyond his years, met hers, and he stammered, "I wasn't doing anything wrong, ma'am." Before Eleanor could speak, Lily rushed forward, tugging her mother's hand with innocent insistence. "Mommy, this is Daniel. He's helping me read. Look, I can say the words now." She thrust a small notebook into Eleanor's hand, its pages filled with uneven scrawls that Eleanor instantly recognized as Lily's. The boy, Daniel, stood awkwardly with his shoulders hunched, half ready to flee, but something about his manner stopped Eleanor from brushing him aside. "Where did you learn to read like that?" she asked cautiously, her voice softer than she intended. Daniel's lips tightened as though choosing carefully, then he answered, "My mom, she used to read to me every night, until she got sick. After she passed, I just kept practicing." The tremor in his words betrayed both grief and pride, and Eleanor felt an unexpected tug in her chest. Lily, oblivious to the heaviness, clung to Daniel's arm. "Please, Mommy, can he come tomorrow? He makes learning fun." Eleanor hesitated, her instinct as a mother warring with her instincts as a billionaire who had built a fortress of caution around her child. Yet, when she looked into Daniel's eyes, those eyes that carried the resilience of someone who had nothing yet gave everything, she couldn't bring herself to refuse. "Fine," she said at last, her tone clipped though her heart softened. "But only here, in the open park, where I can see you." Relief washed over Daniel's face as he nodded quickly, almost too eagerly. For the rest of the walk home, Lily chattered non-stop about her new teacher, her joy bubbling in a way Eleanor hadn't witnessed with any of the expensive tutors she had hired. That night, as Eleanor sat by her window staring at the glittering skyline, she couldn't shake the memory of the boy's words. He had nothing, no family, no home, no future as far as the city cared, yet he carried himself with a dignity and kindness that felt rare even among the powerful men she dined with. Against her better judgment, she found herself curious: who really was Daniel, and what place could he possibly have in her daughter's world? Over the following weeks, Daniel became a quiet fixture of their mornings, always waiting on the same worn-out bench with a stick in hand and a gentle smile that Lily eagerly ran toward. Under his patient guidance, Lily's reading transformed. She no longer stumbled through sentences but read with growing confidence, her laughter often echoing through the park when Daniel turned lessons into playful games. Eleanor, who sat on the nearby bench pretending to scroll through emails, found herself watching more than working, studying the boy whose ragged clothes and dirt-streaked face masked a mind far sharper than his circumstances. The question that plagued her was simple yet unsettling: was he genuine, or was this some performance to earn pity? One morning, she decided to test him. Approaching with a neatly packed bag of food and an envelope discreetly filled with money, she placed them beside him and said evenly, "You've been kind to Lily. Here, buy yourself new clothes, maybe something more. Consider it a thank you." Daniel froze, glancing at the envelope, then at Lily who was busy scribbling on the ground. Slowly, he pushed it back toward her. "I'm grateful, ma'am," he said carefully, "but I don't need it. Could you, maybe buy her more books instead? She's curious about everything. I just want her to keep learning." The words caught Eleanor off guard, her carefully measured composure slipping as she stared at him. In her world, people clawed for promotions, begged for favors, or clung to wealth with desperate hunger, yet here was a boy who owned nothing, rejecting money without hesitation for the sake of her daughter's growth. The honesty in his tone was undeniable, and it pierced her in a way boardroom betrayals and business rivalries never had. That evening, as she tucked Lily into bed and listened to her daughter eagerly recount Daniel's funny way of explaining words, Eleanor felt an ache of humility. This boy, who slept under bridges and lived on scraps, had given Lily what no elite tutor, no expensive program, and no amount of money had delivered: confidence, joy, and a hunger to learn. And though she would never admit it aloud, Eleanor herself had begun to learn something too, that perhaps true wisdom and kindness could shine brightest in those the world overlooked. By the end of the month, Daniel was no longer just a stranger in the park. He had become part of Eleanor and Lily's morning ritual, a presence Lily eagerly anticipated and Eleanor quietly respected. Still, Eleanor knew the boy's reality hadn't changed. At the end of each day, he returned to the cold streets, clutching scraps of food and hiding beneath tattered blankets. The thought gnawed at her until one crisp morning, she arrived not only with Lily but with her driver and a lawyer in tow. Daniel appeared as usual, his face lighting up at Lily's wave, but his smile faltered when he saw the suited man and the solemn expression on Eleanor's face. "Daniel," she began gently, stepping closer, "you've given my daughter something priceless: confidence, joy, and a love of learning. That's something no amount of money could buy, and I cannot watch you live like this any longer." His brows furrowed in confusion as she held out a folder. "From today, you'll live with us. I'll sponsor your education, give you a safe home, and ensure you have every opportunity to chase your dreams. But there's one condition: you must promise never to lose the kindness you've shown my daughter." For a long moment, Daniel simply stared, his lips trembling as if words had abandoned him. Then, with tears welling in his eyes, he whispered, "I promise." Lily squealed with delight, throwing her arms around him, and for the first time in years, Eleanor felt her heart swell with something deeper than pride: hope. When news of her decision spread, the city buzzed in disbelief. A billionaire had taken in a homeless boy, not out of charity, but out of recognition of his heart and wisdom. Some critics called it reckless, others hailed it as compassion, but Eleanor paid them no mind. What mattered was the light in Lily's eyes and the stunned gratitude in Daniel's. In a world where wealth often built walls, she had chosen instead to build a bridge, and in doing so, she discovered that true fortune lay not in numbers or deals, but in the lives one touched. From that day forward, Daniel was no longer just the boy in the park, he was family, and together they began rewriting a story that left everyone speechless.